It's a beautiful day out there. It's always a beautiful day, isn't it? It just depends on where you look. It looks like I have the wrong thing up, so let's fix this over here. Um, how's everybody doing this morning? And I didn't do this right, you guys. I got to fix this. Hold on a second. We're going to talk about PCOS and erectile dysfunction this morning. More off, it should really be called metabolic infertility. So I want to talk about that. I want to explain why we're saying that. And I want to explain a little something, hopefully a few somethings about both erectile dysfunction and PCOS that your doctor probably hasn't talked to you about and that you should know so that you can start to actually feel better. Forgive me, I'm just trying to get something done that I should have had done before, but life is chaos. Let's be honest, you guys. My life is always chaos. It just is. It's part of the way that it's designed, I guess. But I love my life, so we're just gonna deal with it. And thank you for everybody that deals with it right alongside of me. Appreciate you all. So PCOS and erectile dysfunction. What's really at the root of them both is insulin resistance. And we're going to explain why. And I'm going to start with that today. We're going to talk about why insulin resistance is at the root of it. Then, kind of in the middle, we'll talk about what insulin resistance is. And then we're going to go into some solutions that have been helping other people and some just basic tips that might help you start to feel better from insulin resistance. And wow, did that just freeze up on me, guys? Let's try this again. There we go. All right. So we can get to it now. So PCOS, erectile dysfunction, insulin resistance. Number one, when we have insulin resistance, one of the things I like to talk about all the time is how it disrupts the body and how it disrupts cells in the body and reactions in the body. Well, one of those is happening metabolically with your hormones. With PCOS, let's start there. Or actually, let's do the guys some justice today. I talk about PCOS a lot. We don't talk about erectile dysfunction enough. So there's a couple of ways that PCO or that insulin resistance is affecting erectile dysfunction, and then we'll dive into PCOS. Because as always, with our fertility, it's often more complicated with women than it is with men. So men, erectile dysfunction and low testosterone. Insulin resistance is impeding the way that you function. So testosterone needs to be produced in the gonads. And in men, you're producing far more testosterone than you are estrogen, and there's that balance. So when you start to see love handles and man boobs, there's a testosterone problem in this man. But what do we do? And how does this happen? By the way, spoiler alert, you guys, if you're a parent and you were insulin resistant or diabetic or pre-diabetic when you conceived, carried, or had your child, you're putting that child at risk of all of these things as well. So if you're a younger person and you're wanting to give your children or your possible children the best chance at a healthy life, you've got to get control of your own insulin resistance. Stop being so selfish and thinking that your actions don't affect anyone else, because they absolutely do. So erectile dysfunction. As we know, with insulin resistance, we start to gain excess fat stores. An interesting thing with fat stores are, in men especially, they start to act like little ovaries, where this overfull fat cell becomes a little bit toxic, but it also starts producing estrogen. So now in a man that might otherwise be normally healthy, his gonads aren't producing enough testosterone and his fat cells are producing excess estrogen. He ends up with man boobs, love handles, and a fertility factory that just isn't working right. The easiest way to reverse all of that is to get control of the insulin resistance, allow those testosterone levels to come up, the estrogen levels to come down, and everything will normalize. And I have story after story of guys who have done this. One that comes to mind, the most heavy, is a school teacher who was overweight. His tummy would hang out from underneath his shirt. He had testosterone levels. He had erectile dysfunction. He was having lots of problems. His wife loved him, so they were dealing with it, but it was damaging not only to him physically, but emotionally. Just by getting control of his insulin resistance, his testosterone levels within 3 months came back to normal. His erectile dysfunction stopped being dysfunctional. His wife was happier, he was happier, and he lost a ton of weight. Now, the other side of this whole thing, so that's testosterone really quickly in men, right? But part of erectile dysfunction is a blood flow issue. Now, I love to talk about heart-related issues and how insulin resistance is impacting your blood flow in making your endothelial cells inside the blood vessels thicken so that you're just not getting as much blood pumping through. They're getting stiffer. There's a number of actions that insulin resistance has on your blood flow. Well, if you're not getting enough blood flow there, you're not able to have an erection. And that's pretty simple. Get the blood flow under control, get the insulin resistance under control, the cholesterol and all of that that goes along with insulin resistance, that blood flow returns and that function returns as well. It's easy, right? Like, but has anybody ever told you that? Has anybody ever told you that our junk food living diet that we have today and this eating so constantly is at the root of that not functioning? I don't think many men have ever been told that. Not only is it not your fault, you're not dysfunctional as a man, you've just been thrown into an environment that your body can't thrive in. So let's find an environment that your body can thrive in, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Okay. If guys have more questions about erectile dysfunction, please ask and I'll talk about it. I know it's a difficult situation or difficult thing for most men to admit to, so you can message me privately if you want. Just go to the links up here. My number is on YouTube and Facebook. You guys just message and I'm more than happy to talk about it and help you out because it's not your fault. Let's talk about PCOS, the other side, the woman's side of metabolic infertility. So you hear all kinds of doctors, and this is what I was told. It's a progesterone issue. It's a this, it's a that. Well, let's break it down according to metabolic scientists and many doctors who are starting to dive into it now. I was just listening to Dr. Ken Berry talk about it. Dr. Ben Bickman talks about it. Dr. Jason Fung talks about it. Mindy Pelz talks about it. You guys, PCOS is linked to insulin resistance very highly as well. Yeah, you may have the predisposition to have the disease, but there's a trigger. There's always a trigger that sets it off. The trigger for PCOS, for most people with PCOS, is going to be insulin resistance and this blood sugar and blood insulin dysregulation we have going on. So I'm going to preface this with anything with insulin resistance. It's not the only cause. I understand that. There are a small amount of cases that are caused by something else. And it may not be that blood sugar. There's a lot of things with trauma and inflammation that can kick things off. Trauma and inflammation also increase insulin resistance. So let's dive into PCOS, understanding the woman's cycle, and then maybe I'll dive into a little bit of other fertility issues, especially with children, that we should be aware of that's being affected by insulin resistance. So PCOS, ladies, and men, you all know we have a cycle. And men, you know that us women go through our changes in our cycle when we're really vibrant and we want all the attention. And then we have points where we're just like, leave us alone. We don't want to see you. We don't want to talk to you. We don't want to be touched. We don't want anything. We get it. It gets confusing, right? So let's break this down a little bit. In a woman's body, the ovaries are our gonads. So our ovaries are where we're producing these hormones. But there's a little space in the brain called the pituitary that actually regulates some of that as well. That's telling the body when to produce hormones and how to produce hormones. But so there's a brain and gonad connection. Early on in the phase for a woman, when it's just like ground zero, we don't have any eggs being produced. We don't have a lot of estrogen being produced, and we have more testosterone being produced. In our ovaries, we produce both testosterone and estrogen. I'm going to stop here and say the key is we produce testosterone first, and that gets converted to estrogens, meaning estrogen, estradiol, progesterone. Those all get produced out of androgens like testosterone. So our ovaries are producing those. The difference in women and men is that we're taking more of that testosterone and converting it into estrogen. That's where the difference happens for most of us. Now, early in the cycle, estrogen levels are low, testosterone levels are a little higher. We haven't really done anything. Now we're ready to start. We're ready to start this whole process. Got to get going, right? So our brain senses this level of hormones, and it says, okay, we need to send out follicle stimulating hormone. So the brain cues follicle stimulating hormone, or FSH, to be produced in women. And when that happens, then we start releasing eggs. We're born with all these eggs. We start to release them. And over the next few weeks, one of those eggs starts to show itself as being strong. Survival of the fittest, right? It happens for women too. So when the body senses that, hey, there's one egg that's ready, we're good, we're ready to go, then it's going to start, and along the way, it's starting to produce more and more estrogen. When that estrogen level starts to get higher in response to these follicles being produced, then the brain shifts and goes, oh, hey, estrogen levels are rising. That means there's an egg that's ready. We need to start sending out luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone means it's going to kind of differentiate. Here's a strong egg. We're going to leave that one alone. All these little weaklings back here that didn't develop, we're going to get rid of them. They're going to dissipate. Now, we always have some follicles that are falling into the ovaries, and they're causing little cysts. Women, we always have a number of what they're terming cysts, but they're little pockets of fluid where these follicles have fallen into the ovaries. With polycystic ovarian syndrome, what's happening is the luteinizing hormone is not getting kicked out as a response of estrogen not going up. So those eggs are continuing to grow. And when they do fall, they're falling into the ovaries and creating these pockets of cysts that are more excess cysts in the ovaries. And they're bigger, badder cysts because the eggs have gotten a little bit bigger. And the one egg is never being told to go into the uterus and do its job and be ready for fertilization. That's happening because estrogen is not being converted out of testosterone in the ovaries because insulin is impeding that transfer of testosterone into estrogen. So now we have too much testosterone, hyperandrogenism. So women might start getting facial hair. They might start having male pattern baldness. Their voice may deepen. They're having more mood swings. Their anger kicks up a little bit more. They're starting to gain weight. And we have all of these other problems that are going on with PCOS. But it all starts right there in the ovaries and these cues that are being malfunctioned because insulin has impeded the ovaries' ability to do what it's supposed to do. Now, when those ovaries aren't getting those cues because estrogen is not rising and those follicles fall, now the woman's periods are irregular and they're heavy and they're painful because now we have a lot of inflammation in the ovaries. Well, if you've listened to me at all, we know that inflammation also causes insulin resistance. So now it's doubling down on the problem. That inflammation in the ovaries is causing more insulin resistance. More insulin resistance is causing this whole thing to worsen. So it's actually pretty simple for most of us. Most of us, the thing is to just get the insulin under control so those hormones can start to be produced more properly. And that's not just testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. That's things like follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone that we need to function more properly. But insulin is kind of getting in the way of this whole process. I've had a number of women who were told they would never have kids, who had irregular periods, who were struggling and despondent, just like I was when I was younger, because I was told all those same things before doctors understood PCOS. And it's devastating when you want to have a family to know that not only are you having painful periods, not only are you putting on weight and you're getting facial hair and you're having all these other things that you can't control, but everyone's telling you it's all in your control. It's difficult. But these women have been able to reverse that. So one of the, we all have stories that are the top stories in our memory, right? I'll talk about memory later. But this one girl, had PCOS forever. Was married, wanted to start a family, was being told that it was going to be very difficult for her to have a family, wanted to put her on fertility treatments. By the way, with insulin resistance, it impedes fertility treatments too. So if you're having a fertility issue and you're being told that you need to go on fertility drugs, you got to address your insulin resistance if you want those to work properly so that you can conceive in the first place. But this young lady started the system. She was like, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. She needed to lose weight. She wasn't even so much focused on her PCOS at the time. But after 1 month of doing the system that I do, or the protocol that I do, her period was normal. And then month 2, her period was normal. And then month 3, no period. She's really upset. Just like, I thought I found the thing that was really going to help me. And I'm so upset. I had hope, but now it's all gone. And I'm just doomed to this life of PCOS and never being able to have kids. Well, the amazing thing was, the reason she didn't have a period on month 3 was because she conceived. That baby is now 2.5 years old. A woman who was told that it was going to be very difficult for her to have kids if she could ever have them, and that she had to go to all these extensive measures, really did one simple thing: address insulin resistance, and she was able to have a child and normalize her periods, lose weight, get rid of the facial hair, all of the other things that went along with it. So how many of you guys have ever been told any of this about PCOS or erectile dysfunction? Have you ever been told that it's as easy as, for most of us, as easy as getting your insulin levels under control and everything else will fall in line? Has anybody ever heard that? If anybody's suffering with PCOS, have you ever been counseled or told that it's just insulin resistance will take care of the majority of women with PCOS? Now, when I say it's not in your control, it's not in your control when you don't understand what's happening. When you do understand what's happening, when you do understand that it's a dietary issue that's causing insulin to be high, and then insulin goes and runs rampant with all of our other hormones, not just estrogen and progesterone and testosterone, but cortisol and thyroid and all of those other hormones as well. Insulin is a primary hormone, and it's going to mess with everybody when it's out of whack. But I think that if we understand that piece, then now you have a clear path. So now it is in your control, right? Now you do have control over what's happening. Now you can start to fix it. So how do we fix it? Well, let's understand insulin resistance a little bit so that you can understand how to fix that and how to get that under control as well. So insulin resistance, we're going to go over it again because we need everybody to understand this. We being all the people who care about other people's health and getting them off of medications and helping them realistically. So we're being told to eat every 2 hours. Many of us are told to eat every 2 hours. And I'm reading an amazing book a friend recommended called 25 Days. And I'm going to put some of those concepts into my life as well. It's an amazing book. I'll do a video and link the book. But one of the issues I have with the book is he's a physical trainer. He's been a physical trainer to the stars and whatnot. But he's also talking about having 3 meals and some snacks during the day. And I just don't ascribe to that anymore. I used to, and that's how I got heavy in the first place. That's how my health started getting out of control in the first place, was eating every 2 hours. Why does it matter? We have to understand that every time we eat, we're creating, energy in our body. Our body is converting the food we eat into usable pieces for our body. So some of it's being converted into glucose for us to have energy, and some of it's being produced as proteins and whatnot, being metabolized in that way. So we have building blocks. When we eat, we're fueling our body. If you guys took a car and put more fuel in the gas tank than it could take, you're going to have a huge gas spill and a big mess all over. You would never overfill your gas tank. You would never drive your car for 2 miles and then put 10 more gallons of gas in it, unless you have a really bad car. You wouldn't do that, but that's what we're doing to our bodies. We're giving it more energy than it needs to do the daily job that we're doing. And we're doing that by eating every 2 hours, by eating food that's flawed because it's what's been given to us. Now, at this point, it's nobody's fault, right? We're going along with the flow. We're eating what we're told to eat. We're going by the food recommendations. We're doing what we think is all the right things, but we've been misled. Okay, let's not pussyfoot around it. We've been lied to. We've been lied to. Let's look at it this way. If 93% of us, if we had kids that went to a school and 93% of the kids were failing, would you then look at the kid and say, you should know better? You should have known better. You should know how to pass this. I know you're going to school to be taught, but it's your fault that you're failing like the 93% of the other kids. And would you badger your kid and tell your kid that they just needed to do better? Or would you go to the school and say, hey, something is going on here when 93% of our kids are failing? What's happening? What are you teaching them? What are you not teaching them that's causing them to fail at school? And yet, a 2022 study showed that 93% of us are failing metabolically, meaning we have metabolic health issues and we're just failing in that realm. And yet, our doctors and professionals are telling us just eat less, exercise more, which kind of goes against the eat every 2 hours that they're telling us to do. So we're getting confusing messages, right? We're getting food fed into us that we're being told is healthy, high protein bars and high fiber this and high, but they're all high in glucose, and it's spiking our glucose. So now you have a little bit of information, and now you can be expected to do better. You don't need to eat every 2 hours. When you put that food in, you're raising your insulin, you're raising your glucose, but the insulin rises in response to it. And I'll explain insulin in a second. But when you're eating that often, all you're doing is spiking your blood sugar, spiking your blood sugar, spiking your blood sugar. Do you think that our ancestors went through times of famine and drought and times where they were able to feast and then fast and survived all of these thousands and thousands of years without eating every 2 hours, without going, oh my gosh, I'm going to collapse if I don't eat in 2 hours. If I don't have that snackety snack, if I don't have that something little, I'm going to collapse and my body's going to fall apart and I'm going to gain weight and I'm going to have a problem. No, our ancestors were lean. We didn't have so much obesity. We did not start seeing this obesity till we started falling in this trap of eat all the time. All the time we're eating, all the time we're putting fuel in our body. Our body doesn't need that much fuel, especially in today's life. We're not moving as much, so we don't need so much. Stop eating every 2 hours. And pay attention to the foods you are eating. A lot of the foods that are packaged as healthy, there's people out there like Casey Means, Callie Means, that all talk about how the food industry is bamboozling us so that they can get more of this toxic, junky food. Not that there's intending, maybe, I'm not going to go as far to say this, that they're intending to give it to us, but they're producing food that's cheaper, that's easier to produce, but it's not necessarily healthier for us. And they want to sell that food because that's how they make money. So they're devising ways to convince you to buy more of their food. Oh, hey, fats are the problem. So now everything is, and that's one of the things he talked about in his book, was lean meats, lean this, lean that. Well, I've talked about a lot of times how protein needs fat, and that's very true. So stop doing the lean meats. Right? We just don't need to do that. Our body's not going to create fat out of that fat unless you're eating way too much of it. But your body sure as heck is going to create fat out of all the excess sugar and glucose that it gets. So stop eating so often and learn what really needs to be put in your body so that you can thrive. And that's all we're doing with this protocol. And by the way, what we're doing with the protocol, I'm going to talk about in a minute, is we're putting back some of what's been stripped out so our bodies can start to to deal with the food that we do ingest more normally. Now, with that, what we have to understand is some of the things that have been stripped out of our foods, and it's very well known, you can Google it, are things like fiber and enzymes that our body needs in the process of digesting our food. So much fiber has been stripped out that we have these huge glucose spikes. Now, fiber. Fiber is there to help slow down the delivery of carbohydrates and fats, but it does a number of other things. But one of the big things I like to talk about is how it slows down this delivery of carbohydrates and actually how much sugar gets absorbed into the bloodstream. In the absence of this protective coating of fiber, we're not having that glucose regulation. So we're getting more glucose to the system too quickly. We're getting more glucose to the system overall. We have to understand that our foods are less fibrous than they used to be. So when we talk about a peach, and you can Google it, go Google what our foods used to look like. A peach used to be about the size of this, right? That's what a whole food peach used to look like. And it was very dense and it wasn't very juicy. It was a little bit sweet, a lot bitter, really crunchy, like probably crunchier than an apple. Now you go to a store and your peaches are the size of this and they're juicy and they're sweet, and that just like I've bit into peaches and it just runs all over your face. How did it go from this to this? How did it do that? They stripped out fibers, they stripped out enzymes, they stripped out nutrients so they could pump up the fructose and the glucose in this peach so that it's sweeter to taste to you. So now they're saying we have to grow more food because our population is overgrown. Well, I want to tell you, if we were eating the right foods, we would have to grow less foods. We're only having to grow so much food because we're being given food that creates a craving in us to have more of it, that creates this need and desire for more of those sugars. So how do we stop all of that? We start to find ways to downregulate that need for sugar, to help the metabolism of sugar be more normal in our bodies once again. And then that starts to change everything. And when you start to do that, you'll notice that your sugar cravings go down. Your cravings for salted foods and those chips and all of that start to go down as your body starts to normalize with its energy needs. Okay. One of the best ways to do that right now in today's diet, in the way foods are today, is to just add additional fiber in. But fiber is not just fiber. It's not like, oh, like, okay, this is a bottle and this is a bottle. Two very different bottles, two very different purposes. This I use to mix and drink things out of. This I use to break up the hydrogen molecules and make my water more absorbable. They're both bottles, but they do a very different purpose. So every fiber in our diet has a different purpose in our body, does a little bit of a different thing. On top of that, there's soluble fibers and there's insoluble fibers. Fibers are carbohydrates, but they're non-digestible carbohydrates. But it's one of the keys as to why we're having this rampant glucose and fructose problem in our body. What we can do to help all of this is to wrap our carbs in fiber. So before I eat, every time I eat, I just drink some fiber that tastes great. And it's 7 different types of soluble and insoluble fiber. So we have insoluble fiber, which thank you. Thank you for the comments on the glasses. And I'm not sure what the oh my is, JGAT, but thank you. So this fiber has 7 different fibers, soluble and insoluble. Insoluble does not soak up water. Neither one is digested. The insoluble does not soak up water, and it acts kind of like a broom in the gut. Some insoluble fiber can help with glucose regulation, but it creates their long and strandy fibers. Think of the fibers you see in like bananas, celery. So those long fibers create this like basket weave when they get in your gut. So it creates a structure, but that structure goes through and starts to clean out your gut, but it also is feeding your gut microbiome. The soluble fibers soak up water. And that soluble fiber, when it soaks up water, it creates this gelatin mass. And I always think of Flubber, how he started out little and he just kept growing and growing and growing. He was this big gelatinous mass. That's what soluble fiber is like in your gut. So when you combine the two, now you have this structure to hold that gel matrix that then can encapsulate the sugars and the fats you eat and regulate how much gets absorbed into the system and how quickly it gets absorbed into the system. This is one of the main pieces that we're missing today that's causing us to have insulin resistance. Besides all the eating too much, yes, we just eat too much. We do, and I'm guilty of it too. But we just eat too much. And it's as simple as this, you guys. And it's not just a single source fiber. This does not do the job. Now, I'm going to talk about a little bit here that there was some studies done on just a single source fiber, and that if they took the fiber in the morning, they were having about a 10% reduction in blood glucose at that meal. 4 to 5 hours later, and there's multiple studies that show similar results, so metadata analysis shows that this is happening. About 4 to 5 hours later, that same fiber is now reducing the blood glucose spike by about 60%. It's compounding. Well, there's some answers to that too, but we'll go over that in a little bit. Now, if they had another serving of fiber before their last meal, and these were people eating 3 meals a day, that last meal, because they already preloaded with fiber in the morning, then was reduced in blood glucose by 30%. Now, at the beginning of it, remember that first dose of fiber reducing the blood sugar spike by about 10%? This has been proven to reduce a blood sugar spike by about 20%. Now, there's been no metadata analysis on the long-term effects of this fiber, but I'm pretty smart and I can figure it out. Like if we have a fiber that reduces by 10%, and then 4 to 5 hours later, the compounded effects of it are reducing it by 60%, and then another additional at the end of the day is 30%. And this reduces a blood sugar spike on high glycemic foods like white bread by 20%. And I can only imagine what happens 4 to 5 hours later as I eat another healthy meal, or even if I don't have that healthy meal and I have a second one later in the day, that effect is compounded. Now, we used to talk about having this 10 to 15 minutes before a meal, and that was the best time. What we were saying with that is it wasn't as much about the blood glucose regulation at the time. We were talking about it helping stave off your hunger, because when you wait that 10 minutes, it allows this gel matrix to thicken up and really, in our estimation, coat those carbohydrates. But newer studies have shown that when you take this fiber that we're missing right as you eat, it actually makes those effects of blood glucose regulation go up even further. So that's all it is. I just poured this in this bottle, and now I'm going to drink it down. Now, oh shoot, I'm going to add some electrolytes. You guys, what I want you to know is it's food. It's food. So when people are worried about, oh, can I do medications? Can I whatever? Yeah, you can if you need to. But I've been really busy, and I know my electrolytes are off, so I'm going to just pour a little electrolytes in there, and now it's going to get too thick because I waited so long, but we're going to do this anyway. Oops, see, it's really thick. So now my electrolytes are in my fiber. And that's that. Now, because I was brave and I bought chili lime electrolytes, mango chili. The chili just hit my throat really hard. But look at this. I challenge you to mix up Metamucil. Maybe Friday I'll do that. But this is how thick that's already gotten in just those few minutes. That's what's happening in your gut to help with the blood glucose regulation. That's one step of it. But the second step of getting this whole insulin resistance under control, understanding that we're not getting in what we need, is this tea. It's a very specific tea that I drink, and it's highly concentrated. but it also helps dampen your hunger, helps with blood glucose regulation, helps with normalizing your heart health, has antioxidants, anti-cancer properties in it. So now, by the way, I'm in a fasted state. My dinner was about 6 p.m. last night. It was actually earlier than that. So I'm almost 16 hours fasted right now. Not hungry, but I do this anyway because I like the extra fiber. This does not break my fast. This does not break my fast. It actually helps me with ketones and whatnot as I'm going through the morning. Now I'm gonna do this because I haven't had my tea yet. There's gonna come a point where I have this early in the morning because I'm trying to get back to a routine where I get up and exercise in the morning. My life has just been so hectic and chaotic that I'm not getting to bed until late. And then when I get up in the morning, like I don't want to wake up, but I need to start doing my morning exercise again. So that's it. I put the tea in here. I mix it up. It tastes like a lemon iced tea. And this is going to help me keep my hunger at bay. It's going to give me energy. It's going to give me mental clarity. It's going to start an anti-inflammatory process in my system, and it also does not break my fast. Let's talk about fasting real quick. And PCOS. A lot of you have been told that you can't fast if you have PCOS, and that's absolutely untrue. Fasting is amazing for PCOS. If you're interested in how to do it properly, I would check out Mindy Pelz, Pelz. She talks a lot about women's issues in fasting and how beneficial it can be. So yes, we do some fasting with it. Now, because I said we just don't need to eat as often as we're eating. So I think when I look back, I was waiting yesterday because I was going to take my daughter-in-law out to lunch. I had a gift card at Red Robin and I was just craving a burger. So I had like a bonsai burger. I only ate half of it. The other half is in there. And then we had some fried pickles. So it wasn't better than it wasn't as good as I normally eat, but that was really all I ate yesterday because I just wasn't hungry. Um, Fast Like a Girl by Dr. Mindy Pelz. Thank you, Ro. That's an amazing book. It's kicking around here along with a bunch of other fasting books by Dr. Fung and whatnot. Can you just do the Metamucil, then eat at lunchtime? I don't do Metamucil because it doesn't work in the same way. And to me, if you talk about throwing money away, that's Metamucil. I don't, the only reason I have this jar is for purposes of showing you guys. Like I'll do Friday, I'll do a show you the difference between what happens when you mix up Metamucil and when you mix up our fiber. I don't use this. In fact, I have a customer who said that her husband refused to do the system. He was just like, yeah, that's a bunch of crud. That's just expensive fiber. I'm going to buy my Metamucil. It's more cost effective, whatever. And so he would put Metamucil in his lunch bucket every day. One day he ran out of the Metamucil and he was a little despondent. I don't know about us older people and our fiber, but I think we just get how important it is to our day, right? But she threw some of her fiber in his lunchbox that one day. When he tasted, felt the difference of this fiber, which is already so thick, it's coating up the bottom of this, and that's expanding, right? It's expanding as it thickens. He said he would never go back to Metamucil, and he now does the system just like his wife. He wasn't a believer. She was doing it. She was seeing great results, but he was like, yeah, humbug. I'm just going to do Metamucil and I'm just going to whatever because that's a bunch of like, it's just snake oil, whatever. Now he's a believer because he actually tried it himself. There's a huge difference in how your body responds to this scientifically designed. It's not that the fibers are designed scientifically. What we did was we said, hey, there's this fiber has this effect on blood glucose. This fiber has this effect. This fiber has this effect. So they went out and they combined all of these fibers in a way that really makes sense for your metabolism because we're not getting that variety of fibers in our diets today. So Metamucil, no, I don't recommend Metamucil for this. That is just, I would rather go throw dollar bills on the street. Just throw them out, throw them on the street because you're wasting your money. So you tried Metamucil for weight loss, not for diabetes, and it affected your life insurance quote. I need more explanation on that, Myrna. But yeah, Metamucil, you guys, I used to do Metamucil. And by the way, we have another fiber. I don't have it in my office right now, but it's called Live Fiber. And on July 5th, because I didn't want to be doing a cleanse over the 4th, I'm going to be starting our cleanse as well as doing the system and doubling down on some fasting practices because of my heart and my liver. I want to address this too, you guys. The system does really well. It's amazing at addressing insulin resistance. And I point out all the things that are related to insulin resistance because most of us just don't know why we're so sick. And doctors are now saying that insulin resistance is really at the root of 95% of our lifestyle related disease and disorder today. So this one thing affects 93% of us and 95% of the health issues we have. The caveat's this. I had high blood pressure for 30 years. That high blood pressure, and people were always like, and I'm just starting to talk about it because I never wanted to talk about it before. But yeah, has my heart taken some damage from that high blood pressure? Absolutely, it has. Does this fix my heart? Does this stop the fact that my heart was so damaged? No. Does it stop the fact that my heart would have? I cried yesterday and told my daughter-in-law, like, if not for this system, I think that in another 5 years, if that long at all, I wouldn't even be here. My heart and my liver got so damaged by high levels of insulin resistance that no doctor ever caught that it was becoming actually life-threatening to me. Now I'm doing these excess things because I've got to build back. I've got to put back and strengthen up a heart that got weakened from years of insulin resistance and dual therapy on medication that wasn't helping and all of that. So I'm getting stronger and I'm getting better and I'm working at it from a different avenue. But this system stopped that, and it made it so that I can actually still be here today and talk to anyone and be around my kids. And last night I went to bed and I thought about my mama. I just went to Montana. My dear mother in her 80s fell and broke her leg on her left side, and her ribs had been cracked by a chiropractor just about a week before, and she said she broke her arm. When I got there to see her, her arm was just hanging from her. It had broken and severed from the socket, and she can't even lift that arm or turn it more than about an eighth of an inch without extreme pain. And I know from working in medical at that age with that kind of fragile bone that it's not long for her to be around. And she knows that too. She was very frank in talking with me about it. But I was able to go help her put back together an experience where she had squatters in their house and they had to clean up the mess and whatnot. I was able to go help with that. If I was in the health that I was in 3 years ago before the system, not only would I be able to walk up and down stairs and have my hair growing back and my eyesight better and my teeth and gums not bleeding and all that, but I would have never either had the finances or the ability to go help my mother in the way that I helped her in the last few weeks. And that's a memory and an experience I will have for the rest of my life. My health isn't just about me. It's about what I can do for others. And so is yours. You have a family of people you love and your health is failing. Are you a burden to your family or are you helping your family? And if you want to stop being a burden to your family, if you want to stop being that one person that has to be taken care of because your health's so out of control, get control of your health and understand that insulin resistance is at the root of almost everything. I didn't know that when I started 3 years ago. I didn't know that at all. I knew when I started the system, I had to beat diabetes and I had to drop some weight for a surgery I needed. That's all I knew. And this changed all of that. All of the stuff up above, I suffered with all of it except for like erectile dysfunction, of course. But I had fibromyalgia, I had PCOS, I had neuropathy, I had kidney disorders and liver disorders, I had edema, I had arthritis, I had diabetes, I had sleep apnea, I had headaches, I had fatigue and brain fog, and I had stubborn weight. I still have some stubborn weight because I've lost a gallbladder, my heart's weak, my liver's not functioning properly, all as a result of years of insulin resistance. I'm sharing this experience, and thank you, Gina, because I don't want anyone else to suffer from all of this. So it's really important to me to get this out. And look, when I found something after being on multiple medications, I did a video yesterday. I was on 13 different medications, some for my heart, some for my diabetes, some for whatever else was going on, my liver and all of that, but some were for pain. So here I have a liver that's failing and I'm being given like Norco and Hydro and gabapentin and then being told to cycle through Tylenol, and it was causing more of a load on my liver. Guess what? I don't take any pain medications. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And you know what, you guys, I'm going to stop. I just got goosebumps. So thank you for that blessing you just gave me. Whew, I don't talk about it very much, but I'm so blessed just by doing this work I do. I'm so blessed by being able to be here and help you guys. Yes, I'm selling a product. Yes, I'm doing that. But I spend a lot of time helping because I really, really care and want people to get better. So Ray said, high blood pressure is a killer, had a heart attack because you didn't take care of it. Yeah. And the truth is, I had what they call a silent heart attack a couple of months ago, just before going to see my mom. So it gave me this like, okay, you are mortal and you did have all these problems and now you've got to take care of it. So all of that long rambling roundabout was to say that yes, the system is going to help with insulin resistance. That's our guarantee. And my hope is that by addressing insulin resistance, you too can see a better result from all of this. But I had a woman message me that said, can you help me get off of drugs? I'm on cancer medication. No, I can't ever make that claim, you guys. I can't. Can I tell you this? Can I tell you that by adding this to your day, the anti-cancer properties in this, the way that it feeds your gut microbiome, increases your vascularity, decreases inflammation, all of that, and increases your heart health, can this help a person stay healthier through that? Yes. In fact, I have a gal who had colon cancer and she didn't even recognize it for over a year. When she finally got to the oncologist, he said that the only reason that she had made it so long so healthy was this system. This system was helping her combat that. Did it stop the cancer completely that was growing in her body? No. Did it help her body thrive even in that situation? Yeah. Did she eventually have to deal with the cancer? Yes, she did. But this helped her stay as healthy as possible. And even her oncologist told her that this was the one thing that was helping her along the way while she was suffering unknowingly with colon cancer. Now she's hitting it face on. So you guys, look, is there a day, any day, where I wake up and say, man, I want those 13 medications back. I don't want to drink this tea in the morning? Absolutely not. Those drugs were making me worse. They weren't making me better. They were masking problems and causing other problems. This is feeding me from the inside out. Now I'm nutritionally focused. I have stuff. You guys, like I had that bonsai burger and I had some onion rings and some fried pickles. Do I do it every day? No. Today it's going to be an amazing chicken I made in cream cheese and butter. That's it. No big fancy things. It was simple ingredients, some salt, pepper, whatever, but it tastes amazing. Protein and fats. That's going to be my first meal today. My second meal, well, actually, I'm probably going to eat that for my second meal because I'm trying to incorporate more steak into my life, more red meat. And it is actually heart healthy and cholesterol healthy, unlike what we've been told. There's more recent studies that show how healthy red meat is for you. But I just know that my body doesn't like to digest it, so I want to eat it earlier in the day. But that's going to be my day today. I'm going to go have a sirloin steak for lunch. I just reminded myself. And then for dinner, I'll have something a little lighter, the chicken. Now, the chicken is about 50 grams of protein and the steak is about 50 grams of protein. So together, I get about 100 grams of protein in those two meals. As I'm doubling down on my health and I know that I need to get a little bit more protein in, yeah, I'll probably supplement with a protein shake today. A gram of protein per pound of body weight, ideal body weight, is about what you need. Now, as you're older and more sedentary, it can drop to about 0.8 or 0.7 grams of protein. So it's gonna vary. But protein is what keeps our muscles growing. And when we think of muscles, you guys, don't just think of the skeletal muscles, the things that are moving your bones around. Your heart's a muscle, your liver's a muscle, your kidney's a muscle, your intestinal tract is muscle tissue. That protein goes to build all of that tissue as well as the skeletal muscle. So don't skimp on the protein. By the way, it's harder to lose weight when you're not getting in enough protein. Your body's sensing that it needs these stores. And so it's not going to allow you to lose fat until it can start building muscle. So you've got to switch what nutrients you're getting in and make sure you're getting in enough protein. Regardless of all of that, I love to get fiber in. And so the system today is 2 teas. You have a tea in the morning. I'll finish this just after the live. I'll have another one this afternoon. This afternoon, when I have this, it's going to reignite my energy, my mental clarity so that I make it through the rest of the day at 60 years old. It's going to keep my hunger at bay. It's also helping regulate blood sugars. The great thing with this is it increases my own natural glucagon-like peptide 1, GLP-1, that those drugs are trying to give you. This is doing it more naturally in a way that my body can recognize and utilize without breaking down. It increases it by 70%. So now I'm getting all of those benefits from those drugs, not breaking a fast, increasing my ketones, increasing my blood sugar regulation and my heart health just by drinking a tea. Do I want to do that or take a drug that's not really fixing anything? That the drug has to be, if you've noticed when you take those drugs, the dose keeps going up, right? Because you're not getting healthier, you're getting worse. Also, since we were talking about PCOS today, one of the things with PCOS in this talk, and I want to remind you guys, one of the big drugs that they're starting to prescribe for PCOS has been metformin. It's a diabetic drug. So if it's a diabetic drug and insulin resistance isn't related to PCOS at all, why are they giving it to so many women with PCOS? And now they're starting to give them like the glutides, the semaglutide, the tirzepatide, the whatever tide, those peptide drugs, they're starting to give those to ladies with PCOS. Well, if those peptide drugs are really addressing diabetes, insulin resistance, and these two things aren't so highly linked, why is it that those are becoming the drug of choice for PCOS? Think about it. Because it's the reality is PCOS is insulin resistance for most of us. Okay, so you guys, that's it for this morning. I'm not sure that I'll be live tomorrow. My son is coming home. He's been in Israel since March, serving our country, and he's coming home. And we're not sure of the time, but I'm probably leaving early in the morning to go pick him up and bring him home. So I'm going to cry about that one too. I'm in an emotional mood today, but I'm just so thankful. So I'm going to be spending time with my son tomorrow on 4th of July, and celebrating him and his service to not only his family, but his country. And I will be back on Friday, and we'll talk some more about whatever it is you guys need to know. So is there something that any of you guys are suffering with that you want to know? Is this linked to insulin resistance, and how, so I can understand how I can get better? If there's something like that that's going on with any of you guys and you just want to know, tell me, let me know, and I will try to talk about that on Friday. Or otherwise I'll pick something like heart health, because that's really prominent for me right now, or liver health or kidney health. Yeah, it's going to be a good day for us tomorrow. My grandson is, some of you guys saw him yesterday. He's such a beautiful soul. And I was so happy yesterday. I've never said this to my daughter. Just personal time now, you guys. By the way, if you want the system, before I get into all this personal stuff, just tap on the link up above. It will bring it to you. You guys, I'll put it in over here on Facebook and YouTube. But anyway, this kid was born into our family, and immediately we almost lost him within the first few days. He was completely blue. We couldn't figure out what was going on. And as it happens, we are very blessed We are very blessed by this boy. But as it happens, one of the pediatric doctors in Boise, Idaho, had just been in Canada at a medical conference and had just learned about this disorder that my grandson has. Divine intervention? Oh my gosh, I believe so. Because any other doctor probably wouldn't have recognized what's happening with my grandson. And we might not have him today if it wasn't for that doctor. So he has a very rare disease. At the time he was diagnosed, only about 500 other kids in the world had been diagnosed. Um, and it's a DNA disorder that each parent has to have a component, and those components together create this disorder. Most kids with his disorder are gone by the time they're 5. He will be turning 8 at the end of this month. We're very blessed by the fact that we get to have him around. So when I talk about medications, no, I don't agree with them for things like our dietary disorders. For something like his disorder, where there's an actual mutation in his DNA, there are life-saving drugs, and I agree with those. One of his drugs costs like $30,000 a month if my son wasn't in the military. Devastating, right? But that kid is beautiful. He's amazing. We get along. Our personalities just match. We are so bonded. He has a hard time going between his house and my house. My house is his second house. But even he does the system a little bit because of fat dysregulation for him with his disorder. But yeah, he's been really, really sad about his dad being gone, and it's been really hard on him. So I'm sure there's going to be lots of tears tomorrow morning from both of them and lots of hugs. And we're just going to have family time. You guys, by the way, on the 4th of July, this is our nation if you're here in the US, and this is a time to celebrate what we have and the freedoms we have with our families and our children and everything we have in life. So now I'm going to go off on a little bit different tangent. One of the messages that's been coming through to me lately is, as I've been dealing with people, I've been recognizing there are people that are very focused on gratitude and the things that are good in life. Your life will change when you focus on gratitude. When you're focusing on the negative constantly, that's what you're going to get out of life. So I have, and I'm going to mention this again, and it's not just one person. I've had multiple person, but I talked to somebody the other day, and she said, "Well, I just wanted to talk to you because I'm really not noticing any results with the system." And I'm like, "Really? You don't have more energy? Your swelling's not gone? You're da 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 da." And as I went through the list of things that have gotten better for her, she was like, "Yeah, well, that's gotten better. Yeah, well, that's gotten better. Yeah, well, I don't experience that anymore. Yeah, well, I'm not experiencing this anymore. And yeah, that has gotten better. And yes, I have lost weight. And yes, I have, but this one thing hasn't gotten better." Oh my gosh. Talk about focusing on the negative. When you look at the impact of your health and start to see that A, B, C, D, E, F, G are all getting better, that means you're getting better. And your focus should be on, wow, all of this, I can walk again. I don't have all the swelling. I don't have all these blood sugar spikes. I don't have all of this other stuff going on. I don't have the brain fog. I don't have the headaches. I don't have, my God, that's a lot of really positive benefits for someone to call me and say, "I haven't seen any change." Where's your focus? Where is your focus? So tomorrow, especially here in the US, I would adore if we could all focus on being grateful for what we have in this nation, and the gentlemen and ladies like my son and so many other kids who serve and protect us every single day. We have so much to be grateful for. And if we stop focusing on all the crap, we're not going to be living in crap. We'll start living in abundance, and gratitude is the key. So every morning, like this morning, one of my favorite meditations is one called the 6-Phase Meditation by Vishen Lakhiani. I've been talking about it for years. It was one of the first meditations I was actually able to sit down and do. One of the key pieces of that meditation is gratitude, and it will change your life when you stop focusing on the bad things that happen and you focus on all the good things that happen. I could wake up in a day and I could be like, I'm so pissed off that my grandson has this disorder and that he may not ever live to be my age, that he may not have the chance to have a family, that he may not have that. Or I can wake up and say, that little boy brings so much light to my life, has healed so much in my family. I'm so thankful for him in this condition and the healing he's brought to this family. It's your choice. Focus on what you want to focus on, but I'm going to choose gratitude and being happy for the good things. Look, I've had like 20 broken bones and as many surgeries, and I was in a tremendous amount of pain. I could be pissed off that no doctor ever caught all of this stuff, or I could be thankful that I found a system that reversed it all and helped me have a healthier life at 60 than I've ever had. Do I need to be aware of the damage that was done? Yeah. Do I want to focus on the good that's happening and focus on the good that we can bring to other people? And by the way, Ro, I love you so much. Thank you for all the support you're giving this morning and every day that you hop on my live. Ro's also on the system and she's also spreading the good news and also helping people. You guys focus on what you can do in your life to make it better and stop focusing on all the ways that your life is imperfect. Because the truth is, all of our lives are imperfect. There's not one person out there that has a perfect life, that hasn't been through some kind of challenges that feel insurmountable to them. And nobody's challenges are greater or worse than anyone else's. They're just lessons. We just need to start living in gratitude and finding healthier ways, mind and body, to go through this life. And when you do that, life's going to look pretty damn good. I'm grateful that I was able to go visit my mom, that I was able to spend so much time physically, emotionally, financially, and help her at this end stage of her life, and that I will never have to regret not having been able to do that. I'm very thankful that I get to take the day off tomorrow and spend with my family in ways that we're going to play card games, we're going to play board games, we're going to just have family time and hang out. And I invite you to do the same. Enjoy your life and be grateful for the people in your life who support you and let them know that you're grateful for them. The product is in my profile link. It's a tea that I have in my day and it twice in my day and a fiber that I have before my meals. And it's changed my life. It's real food. It's gluten-free. It's halal. It has a 90-day money-back guarantee. You don't get that guarantee from metformin or any of those drugs. They're not going to tell you that if your A1C isn't reversed in 90 days that you will get your money back. They don't give you any of those guarantees. That's the product. It's just real food products that are giving us back what we've been stripped of in our diet. I'm sad. I'm sad not for myself or my family. I'm sad when I look at the nation and the world and how angry and volatile we've become and how much focus there is on the negative. That makes me sad. I wish more people could dive into gratitude and just being happy. We don't all have to be billionaires. We don't all have to have what the neighbor has. We have to have what makes our soul happy, and that should be what we strive for. But we can't, you guys, it's like this. If you went to a group of people who lived in a cave and had never been out of the cave for whatever reason, and they weren't able to see light, like it was devastating to them, or if they left that cave, they knew they were going to be attacked by a tiger, and so they just never left the cave. And then here along one day comes a person and says, "Hey, there's this big, beautiful world out there, and that sunlight's really good for you, and it gives you things like vitamin D, and it's going to make you feel happy, and you're not going to be so sad if you would just come step into the light." And most people will stay in the cave because they're too afraid to see that light. That's what makes me sad, is so many people unwilling to look up and see the light that's right in front of them. Okay, so you wish I would talk more about the solution than I do the problem. Okay, that's fair, and I appreciate that input. Um, so the solution really is just this, you guys. We're just putting back again what's been stripped out. So 7 different fibers in this that are giving us back that protection from fiber that we need. Maybe Friday I'll talk more about fiber and the tea and why it does so well. Um, but this has really helped regulate my blood glucose, reversed my diabetes, got me off of 13 different medications. And it's so easy to do. And look, it's still expanding and thickening in this bottle with just that little bit of water. But this helps regulate my blood glucose, helps me feel full when I'm hungry. It for me with my heart issues and the extreme nausea, this weird nausea that I feel that makes me yeah, just like on the plane home because I had a severe allergic reaction. I was actually almost like felt like I was going to vomit on the plane. It became different from a stomach discomfort. This helps ease that for me as well. So the fiber is helping with blood glucose regulation and hunger and digestion, and it's helping feed the gut. So there's a lot going on with that. Why don't I'll talk about this more on Friday. We'll give a more complete view of why this is working and how it's working on Friday. And then the tea. We're doing 2 of the tea now because what we've noticed is the GLP-1 that increases with this tea is helping people with satiety. It's helping with the blood glucose regulation, but it has so many other properties in it, and it helps you feel happier. So this is a system that you find in my bio. So it's a tea that I have twice a day and a fiber that I have before my biggest meal of the day. This reversed my diabetes. This helped my PCOS. This helped me in menopause. This helped. My daughter-in-law said the other day, well, your weight, mom, is because your hormones are off. Well, I agree with that. But no, my hormones, as in testosterone, or not in testosterone, thyroid and estrogen are not so off. Um, when the last time, and I'm going to do another panel here soon, but I did a panel about 6 months ago, and all of my levels were in normal range except for some inflammatory things because I had an infection. But this is all I had to do to get off of 13 medications. This is a tea I have twice a day and a pre-meal drink I have before I eat my largest meal. And it's real food, gluten-free, halal, and it is actually making change for people. And it's as easy as tearing open a packet, pouring it in some water, shaking it up, and drinking it. No pills, no meal replacement, none of that. But it is giving my body the nutrition it needs to be able to heal and start functioning like it was always meant to function. Mm. Thank you for the comment that I must be an awesome mom. Look, I'm a complicated bird, right? I have autism, so sometimes people don't understand me, and sometimes I come off as being brash and whatnot. But I care deeply about people, and that's just across the board. Have I been perfect in life? No, I have not. Have I made a ton of mistakes as a mom? Yes, I have. Have I made a ton of mistakes across the board? Yes, I have. One of the things at 60 years old, I think most of us who are on a path to get better mentally, emotionally, whatnot, is that we learn from those mistakes. That's what makes us better people. When we just sit in the mistakes and continue to make them and don't learn from them and don't understand how we're impacting others, that's when stuff starts to become dysfunctional. I'm continually on a path to be a better person, and that's all I can do, and that's all you can do. Do we make mistakes? Yes. Have I had problems with my kids and my family? Absolutely. But when you sit down and start to figure out what means something to you in life, you're going to start understanding that they're not perfect and neither are you. And if you love them, you're going to do the best you can to to nurture that relationship and be there. And I'm so thankful now that both of my kids are they know that their mom has their back. They know that now. They may not have always known that, but they do now because I've cultivated that for them and with them. And I've given my life to taking care of my family. That's what's important to me. I don't care about Lamborghinis and fancy cars and all of that stuff. I care about helping people and taking care of my family. So that's why I'm here talking about this. This is a protocol that helped me reverse my diabetes and my hypertension and got me off of those 13 medications. And look, if you want to have a conversation about what it is that I do and how I do it, whether it's the system or the finances, just message me and I'm more than happy to talk to you. I'm never a pushy, stressful person. I just want to help people. So there's that. Now I am going to go because I'm getting messages that I have to go take care of people. Yes, I appreciate you. I appreciate you hanging out with me. I appreciate you diving in and being here. And have a great 4th of July. If I can get on, I will. But most likely, I'm going to be giving all my time to my son tomorrow. So I'll see you on Friday. Have a great day. Bye, guys.